started out trying to put hell on the street to wake people up. So Bivens went and he tried to teach these cats and showed them that they was off, that they were missing something, and they didn't want to hear. So he went back and he got his men together, including the great Yahanna, and he went out on the street, which was also biblical as he figured out. And he went out on that street and he started to prophesy. He started to teach. He started to wake brothers up. Late 60s by then. No, early 60s by then. They hated him for it. The Christian church, which you know today, a lot of you don't know, the Christian church used to bring speakers out 7 feet high across the street from our camps in the 60s in an attempt to drown us out. The Muslims would come out of their temple on 5th Avenue, line up 1,000 bow ties. They was big back then. They used to disrespect Bivens, and they used to say, what you niggas think you gonna do in that little closet? I say, come and see. Come and see what we gonna do. They told him, y'all ain't gonna get nothing done until brothers started waking up. And he went over Jersey, which was a stronghold of the Muslims. And he went over there and prophesied on them, and they attacked him. Beat him up bad, put him in the hospital, and eventually he passed away. And the Israelite school, UPK, was in the making by the hand of the Lord. The school of Torah, which started out trying to find its way, was coming to a close. So the brothers, 3 brothers, who you know today as Chief Head Priest Ariyah, Chief Head Priest Mashal, Chief Head Priest Yahanna. Not in that order. Mashal, Ariyah, Yahanna. When the house of Torah lost Bivens, and just so you know, when them bitches start telling you online, he ain't got it right, he this, he that, make sure you tell them the nigga was there. Make sure you tell them that nigga was there. They love to change the scenario to make it look like we not on our game. I couldn't forget it if I wanted to, because these brothers would make sure I didn't forget this history. So they went around the corner and they rented a little room from a man named Mills. Mills was Mills security. Harlem was dangerous in the 60s. By 69, it was very dangerous. Drug dealers, pimps, stick-up kids, cat burgling was big in Harlem in the 60s. So Mills, a black man, had a security company. Mills Security. And he bought a building for the security company that had a whole bunch of single offices. Yahanna went around the Mills and said, look, man, I know a lot of people don't like us because of what we teach and how we feel about the white man. But you a black man like me, and you know what I do for these brothers on the street. Back then, Yahanna was giving out more that block cheese than anybody I know. More than Utah, more. Anytime more can't give out enough cheese as Yahanna did. Yahanna, you know that old welfare cheese they used to give out? Yahanna, listen, every nigga in Harlem had some of that cheese. He tried his level best to feed the Lord's chosen. So Mills said, look, I'm going to give you a room in my building, but you got to control your men. I can't have them drinking and acting up and being a fool, and definitely don't sit on the radiator. And he had a radiator in the hallway to heat up the hall. But he ain't like us sitting on it because, of course, he didn't want it to break and be no more heat up in there. You ain't going to hear this story again. I'm going to tell it to you one time. So Yaakov agreed. He said, okay, I'm gonna control my men. I'm gonna roll with them. He said, do me a favor, give me the room right next to the stairs. So I ain't gotta have my men walking all through your building with all your officers. Mills said, bet, that's a good idea. He gave Yaakov that spot. Yaakov told Ariah and Marsha, he said, listen, I made a deal with this man. Whatever you do not be late on his rent. They said, come out of one come. And 1 West 125th Street was born. What we're experiencing today are the works of those great men and the men that came after them and the men that came after those men. Today is another amazing day in the work of the Lord that was born out of hard times and hardship and many, many, many years of working this truth. The rest you all know. So today, if I can, I gotta introduce a bad cat. I'm gonna get my generals afterward. You know I stick them like glue. But I want to introduce you to a brother that have really held the grip of this work, that carried this thing even when he didn't want to. I gave him hell. You know I do. You can't work with me unless you're ready to catch some hell. It's going to be rough. I don't play with you. I want what I want. I want to get it done, and I'm not nice about it because our life is on the line if we give up this truth. I'm not going to be no local, nigga. I'm not going to serve no Arab God. I'm not going to serve you so-called Jesus. I'm not going to serve a white Jesus. I want the Lord. I want the nigga God. And men like that, they come few and far between. But I found yet another one. And this brother here have revolutionized this Hebrew Academy and have brought many of you through this fire to become certified priests of the Most High. I ain't gonna run on. Please let me introduce you to the head instructor of the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge, raised up by these generals, a bad cat in his own right, Captain Akkad Abarai.
Of course, the water to you, General, Commander General Yahanna, the water to all the General Hyman,